Okay, so one big thing is kind of in the same vein that you were talking about. A lot of physicians will get a K-1 from their partnership. So they're a group of orthopods, they're a group of uh, ENT doctors, a lot of surgeons. And so how does that affect it? Like, is partnership income considered passive? And then secondary, after you talk about that, let's talk about owning your own office and getting a K-1 from that.
Rachel, like I think before Rachel will get into the technicalities. By the way, I'm sure that like some people miss that, but my wife, she's a resident right now, so she's making nothing. She's in a bad place right now. She's a surgical resident, but yeah, she's doing plastic surgery, and
Oh,
but my in-laws, my father-in-law is a general surgeon. My mother-in-law, she's an anesthesiologist. So I went through them like through a lot of their kind of like models, and it's kind
mm,
of like very interesting to see that like so much about that. It's also about negotiation. Even if you're part of a group, you're not necessarily a partner of the partnership. And it's something that physicians, it's unrelated purely to taxes. Taxes, again, are a portion of the considerations. But when you're negotiating a deal, when you're getting into a new group, it's something that you want to understand what's the tax structure for your deal. Are you going to be a W-2 for the group? Are you going to be a
mhm.
partner of the group? And what exactly are the terms of the partnership? Because that affects how you're going to get compensated and how you are going to classify, how your income is going to be classified. So that's something that if you are in the transition period in life, definitely think about taxes when you negotiate, also when you have the transition. And now, Rachel, you can explain that as well.
Yeah. So if you're getting a K-1 from a medical practice or you're working in a as you have your own S corp or something of that nature, assuming that that's going to be something that you're actively doing, that would put that K-1 income into your active ordinary income bucket. So the passive real estate investments, by default would not be able to offset that active ordinary income unless you're in situations we talked about, like when there's an exit and you have losses getting freed up. But day to day, those types of income would be isolated from each other, and not able to offset each other, unfortunately.
So a K-1
There,
doesn't mean passive. Like it's not,
yeah,
you
K
really gotta
one
look into it. Yeah.
K-1 means you have an interest in some type of business, and then it's really, what type of business it is, what you're doing, that's going to drive how that K-1 income is going to be taxed for you.
Hmm. Okay.
Uh,
Um,
Actually,
That's
we have clients that they are partners at a big corporation that you probably heard about, but for them, for example, because they are not structured as a partnership, they don't get K-1.
mm,
They're a corporation. They don't get a K-1 at the end of the year. They are employees, and they sometimes own shares of that because they have some kind of equity compensation. So we are talking about like you're getting K-1s in only if when you own one of the following: number one, an S corp; number two, a partnership; um, and number three, certain if you're certain trusts, but that's not related to this. But S corps and partnerships, those are kind of like the entity types that you're getting K-1s. Those are pass-through entity types also, so you are getting taxed on the individual level and not on the entity level, as opposed to C corporations, that where you don't get nothing is passing through to you. You're getting taxed on the corporate level. So I don't want to get too much into that because that's a whole discussion. But when it matters a lot how you structure your deal and your ownership and your equity. So it's really important to work with your tax professional when something like that happens.